And black people can't afford to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down and good jobs and the police when you call them.
Well, if he's right, then why didn't people vote for the former prosecutor who actually had policy plans to help the working class?
Black Americans are not here for the endless hand-wringing of rich white liberals. They've got their own battles to fight. They don't need another lecture about how bad they've got it from people who've never had to worry about rent, health care, or a stable job. They're too busy trying to survive. They want real change, lower prices, better jobs, and a police force that actually shows up when you need them. Simple as that. Now, if Bill Maher's critics are right about him, then why didn't people vote for the former prosecutor who actually had policy plans to help the working class? Why, in that case, didn't they pick him? The answer is obvious, isn't it? Because those policy plans were nothing but a fancy suit hiding the same old tired rhetoric. Stop pretending like they were any more revolutionary than Whoopi Goldberg's tired rants. Stop trying to call it karma when Whoopi Goldberg gets yanked off The View after she went after Bill Maher on air. There is no such thing as karma, sorry, but life doesn't work that way. Sometimes things just happen, and sometimes they're so ridiculous, all you can do is laugh. For instance, when a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and then eaten by lions, you don't think karma, you think comedic gold, and that's exactly what this situation with Whoopi is shaping up to be. Bill Maher's full-time job now seems to be dissecting the woke agenda, and guess who's his latest target? None other than Whoopi Goldberg herself. Let's be honest, her recent string of cringeworthy comments has given Maher all the ammunition he needs. But Maher didn't just criticize her. Oh no. He absolutely destroyed her piece by piece, leaving her ducking for cover like some cartoon character avoiding anvils. The question on everyone's mind is, what did Whoopi say to provoke this all-out attack from Maher? Why was the woke crowd so rattled by his savage clapback? Well, don't worry. We've got all the details for you, and believe me, it's a wild ride. Grab your popcorn, because this is about to get good. It's time to get past this endless zero-tolerance mentality that punishes anyone who dares say the wrong thing. The best response to speech you don't like? More speech. And now, Whoopi Goldberg has pricked the bear, and she's dealing with the claws of hard, uncomfortable truth. Oh, it's not pretty, folks. Remember our last video where Bill Maher roasted Sunny Hostin for trying to manipulate the conversation by putting words in his mouth? Well, looks like the View staff isn't going down without a fight this time. It's Whoopi Goldberg herself stepping up to the plate, and she's coming in hot, like some competitor in a reality show nobody asked for. Black people can't afford to indulge rich white people's guilt trip fantasies. They've got real-world problems. They want the cost of living to go down. They want good jobs, and when they call the police, they just want someone to show up. But Whoopi seems to think these issues aren't worth talking about.
Stop saying that Whoopi Goldberg getting yanked from The View right after she attacked me on The View is karma. There's no such thing as karma, sorry. Sorry, but life is random. The only word to describe it when a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and then eaten by lions is hilarious.
Instead, she starts bringing up some ex-prosecutor with big policy ideas, hoping that something will stick. But it's clear, nothing's sticking here. Bill Maher called her out for this ridiculous argument, saying, "It's not that I've gotten old, it's that your ideas are stupid as they are." And he's right. Let's be real here. Whoopi's position is starting to sound like a broken record, and it's getting tiresome. The truth is, The View has become the political talk show version of a train wreck. Uncomfortable to watch, but hard to look away from. And with their out-of-touch comments, Sunny Hostin and Whoopi Goldberg have managed to turn the mayhem up to an entirely new level. Remember when Charlemagne the God braved The View set as a guest? You could almost see him wondering if he'd wandered into an alternate reality. The looks on his face said it all. Now, let's talk about the real issue here. Joe Biden, the man who campaigned on the idea that no one is above the law, has recently pardoned his son, Hunter Biden, for his corruption charges. What a surprise, right? Here's where the hypocrisy starts to sting. How can the President of the United States proclaim that no one is above the law while his own son clearly got off scot-free? It's the ultimate example of family values gone wrong. Hunter Biden gets away with crimes because his dad is in the Oval Office. And if anyone dares call it out, suddenly they're the bad guy. This is what happens when your own family's corruption is swept under the rug, right under the noses of the very people who are supposed to keep you accountable. And this is exactly what Charlemagne the God was calling out. He pointed out how Democrats act self-righteous about the law while picking and choosing when to hold people accountable. If you're not part of their exclusive group, you're fair game. But if you are, suddenly there's no need for accountability. Now, Whoopi didn't take too kindly to Charlemagne's comments.
We have got to get past this endless, unforgiving, zero-tolerance mindset bent on punishing and disappearing anyone caught saying the wrong thing. The right response to speech you don't like is more speech.
In typical Whoopi fashion, she decided to interrupt and set the record straight. Or so she thought. "I'm going to stop you right there," she said, only to reveal that she has absolutely no clue what she's talking about. "Whoopi, you're not the authority here." She tried to claim that President Biden didn't change his views out of political convenience, but because he was tired of seeing everyone else get away with it. Right, Whoopi, because that makes perfect sense. And then there was the real kicker. When Charlemagne called out the hypocrisy of it all, Whoopi took a step back and did what she does best. She tried to defend the indefensible. It's all part of the same woke defense we see so often on The View. Shut down anyone who dares to disagree and protect those in power.
Let's tear down statues of Lincoln and get rid of the police. Just, no, it's not that I've gotten old, it's that your ideas are stupid.
No matter how much they fail to live up to their own standards. But Bill Maher wasn't having it. He's been watching these antics for long enough, and he called them out for what they are: pure hypocrisy. Hunter Biden's crimes are undeniable, but as long as he's in the family, it seems like the rules don't apply to him. It's the perfect example of political favoritism over justice. And guess what? Maher wasn't about to let that slide. As Maher cut through the nonsense, he laid bare the glaring double standards at play, and no one was safe. The woke mob, the so-called moral leaders of the left, had been preaching about justice and equality, but when it was time to put their money where their mouth was, they folded like a house of cards. Bill Maher's brutal takedown wasn't just about Hunter Biden's pardon. It was about the hypocrisy of an entire movement that claims to stand for truth and fairness, yet conveniently overlooks the corruption in its own backyard. When the woke crowd loves to preach about fairness, the reality is they have no problem when it's their own getting away with murder. Metaphorically speaking, of course. Hunter Biden's case is a perfect example of how the elite play by a completely different set of rules. And Maher wasn't going to let the self-righteous shield themselves from the truth any longer. But let's back up for a second. How did we even get here? Remember when the media went into full damage control mode during the election cycle? The Hunter Biden scandal? That was the elephant in the room, but the mainstream media worked overtime to bury it before the election because they knew it was a ticking time bomb. "We can't let this story out now," they said. "It might swing the election in Trump's favor." And the media did exactly that. Outlets like CNN, MSNBC, and others played their part in suppressing the Hunter Biden story, labeling it as Russian disinformation, even though it was clearly a legitimate issue. Whoopi Goldberg and her crew on The View were right there with them, mocking anyone who dared to bring it up, throwing out dismissive comments to silence the dissenters. But Bill Maher wasn't buying it. He called out the obvious contradiction, pointing out that the media helped to protect Biden's campaign. And in doing so, they compromised the integrity of the very system they claimed to support. Let's talk about how the media has been complicit. They buried the Hunter Biden laptop story before the 2020 election because they knew it could tilt the scales in favor of Trump. That's how deep this corruption runs. The mainstream media and the so-called progressives were so determined to keep Biden in power that they were willing to let truth be sacrificed on the altar of political gain. And Whoopi Goldberg, she was the loudest cheerleader of that agenda, sitting comfortably behind her privileged platform and dismissing any valid criticism of the Biden family as conspiracy theories and right-wing smears. But now the truth is starting to seep through the cracks. Bill Maher had seen enough. He wasn't about to let Whoopi or anyone else rewrite history to suit their narrative. He called her out for being part of the problem, the very same problem that makes people like Hunter Biden feel like they're untouchable. The rules don't apply to them after all, right? No consequences for the powerful. Just like that, Maher laid the hammer down, and Whoopi was left scrambling to cover her tracks. But the real controversy was just beginning. Maher didn't stop with just Hunter Biden. He went all in on the woke crowd's selective outrage. He pointed out how the left, especially the liberal elite, only cares about justice when it suits their agenda. When it's one of their own, suddenly everything becomes complicated. Suddenly, the laws don't apply in the same way they do for the average American. Maher's commentary on the woke movement was as sharp as a blade. He pointed out that this so-called woke mob has turned into nothing more than a gang of self-righteous bullies.
I'm going to stop you for a second.
Uh-oh.
Only because you don't know that it was a lie. We don't know why he changed
You
his
really think he just changed his mind over Thanksgiving weekend all of
No,
a sudden?
I'm going to tell you what I think.
Okay.
Yeah. I think he changed his mind because he got sick of watching everybody else get over.
They throw around terms like justice and equality, but when push comes to shove, they're the first ones to defend their own and leave everyone else in the dust. It's a game of virtue signaling, and Maher was having none of it. He exposed their hypocrisy for all to see, because it's all about controlling the narrative, not about getting to the truth. And that brings us to one of the most uncomfortable truths of all. Whoopi Goldberg and many of her colleagues have long been part of this machine, using their platform to push an agenda that silences opposing views and dictates the terms of the debate. They like to pretend they stand for tolerance and free speech. But anyone who dares to question the narrative gets steamrolled, dismissed, or even attacked. Bill Maher, with his brutal honesty, has become a thorn in their side, and they can't stand it. It's like the old saying goes, you can't handle the truth. And for Whoopi and the woke crowd, the truth is a bitter pill to swallow. The reality is, they've spent years pushing an agenda that doesn't work for most Americans, and now people are waking up. They can't just hide behind their privilege anymore and pretend to be the moral authority on every issue. The woke movement has been exposed for what it is, a group of self-righteous elites who care more about power than about people. And then comes the controversial part. You know, the one that hits you like a freight train and makes you question everything you thought you knew. Bill Maher has become the voice of the silent majority, the people who are tired of being lectured by the woke crowd. They're sick of the double standards. They're tired of the hypocrisy. They're done with being told how to think, what to say, and who to vote for. And they're fed up with the false notion that the woke movement represents what's best for America. Maher's takedowns aren't just about a few hot-button issues. They represent a growing frustration with a system that's rigged against the people who actually matter. The working class, the everyday American, the ones who are told to sit down, shut up, and accept whatever the elites dish out. Well, Bill Maher isn't having it anymore. And neither are the millions of Americans who feel the same way. So, what's the real question here? How much longer can the woke crowd keep up this charade before everyone sees them for what they truly are? A group of elitist bullies who have no clue what life is like for the average American. How much longer will they be able to hold on to the narrative that they're the moral compass for the country, while completely ignoring the reality on the ground? It's clear now, the woke movement is crumbling, and it's about time. And Bill Maher? He's the one bringing the hammer down, one brutal truth at a time. And there you have it. Wokeness exposed. The curtain has been pulled back, and the truth is out. Whether you like it or not, the days of the self-righteous woke elite are numbered. Bill Maher has proven that they can't keep hiding behind their platforms, pretending they have the moral high ground. The time is coming for a reckoning, and it's not going to be pretty for those who think they can continue to control the narrative. The real question is, will America keep tolerating this? Will we keep listening to the self-proclaimed moral authorities, or is it time to take back control of the conversation? The answer, as always, lies in the hands of the people.